Torsia Christian. I'm going to get right into it because we are within 48 hours. Something big has to happen for Zion Oil in order for it to continue on NASDAQ. And I believe they actually have a strategy as far as releasing the news. Everything from the rig arriving to the crew being on site building and all the other news that comes after that for those 10 days. Now, I also believe that they're going to release the 3D seismic testing too as well. And that's going to be huge because that's going to, I believe that it could very well put Israel in the export game as far as gas and oil. All right, so one of the things is that people, if you're in this, you're going to have to learn how to trade. You're not going to, you don't have to worry about trading a whole bunch of stocks. If you just have this one stock, like a lot of my subscribers do, and some of you who got into Zion Oil before you started listening to me, some of you, you may only have a handful of stocks, maybe BBB and a few other things. But one of the things is you have to ask yourself, are you in this for the long term or the short term? Okay, and either way, you're going to have to learn how to trade. Now, eventually, I have here Robinhood up. Now, for a lot of people don't like Robinhood because of the trading hours are a little bit shorter than most of the rest. But this is what a lot of people use. It's the interface is a lot easier. But then once you start to learn how to trade, you really need to move on to or use in conjunction with your other trading platforms. And one of the things I like about Robinhood, if I want to buy a stock right then and there, and I can deposit the money, I can get instant access. With Webull, it could take 2, 4, 6, 8 hours before you can even see it show up to where it's tradable. Some of the other platforms that I've used actually could take like 3 to 4 business days. There's a lot of pros and cons with all the different platforms that are out there. But if you haven't, if you're just now listening to this about Zion Oil and you don't have any trading platforms, then the links are down below in the description. But you're gonna have to do instant verification, right? That's when you sign up and they instantly verify your bank account. Because if you have to do a manual or where they deposit 1 or 2 cents in your account, and that's gonna take days. But eventually, we're gonna have to graduate to a different platform. With better hours and maybe a few other better options. All right, so I'm just using this as an example. So you see where it closed out around 39 cents. And a lot of people are asking me, well, where do I think it's going to go? One of the things that I get asked is, how high is it going to go? Well, I believe in the short term, it can be anywhere from 3 to 5 with all the news that could come out. Now, I talked to Johnny from Currency 365. He said he had a dream that he saw it at $4.77. And so I'm sitting there thinking, well, maybe that's our sell point. Try to sell it at that point. Zion Oil, as far as discovering oil, I mean, they've already discovered oil. They just have to drill for it. So once they are actually able to drill and hit it, that's when we're going to see, in my opinion, above $5. But I think there's going to be a gap. And this is what it's about. It's about making more money so you can take out some profit, but as well as to be able to buy back in when it goes back down and buy even more stocks. And depending on where you're at in this, and I don't know how the news is going to come. I'm not a stock expert or anything like that, but from my experience, I've seen stocks shoot all the way up, and then they come all the way down. And some of these runs, really, I've seen them go on runs for 2 days, maybe at the most, right? Maybe 3 days. There's a few stocks that I saw in different trading groups. And how they skyrocketed, ones that I missed, and they went from like, $3 to like $60 and then back down eventually to $20 or $10. It's, there's some crazy stuff going on with stocks. So what does go up in the stock market usually comes back down. Now, it's all going to depend on how they do the news. And like I said, there's going to be a gap. There's going to be a gap between from the time that they actually strike oil and in the time that they need to be able to extract it and, pump it into however they're going to do it. I don't know if they're going to run a pipeline or if they're just going to use trucks or whatever the case is. So that all has to be done. And I don't think we're actually going to see the $100 mark until they actually start pumping oil, until they actually start making a profit. I think that's where we're really going to see it at. But a lot of things can change really quickly. Just like I think about the dinar, even though there's a lot of different things that are going on with it, and I still haven't seen a lot of those things yet. But things can happen quickly overnight. Now, there's only a couple months in the election, so we have to. So for those of you, if you're in the short term and you're just trying to make a few bucks and get out, well, certainly you will have the opportunity to do that. But for those who are in for the long term, you are going to make a lot more money. But if you're in the long term and don't plan on trading, you may not see that $100 mark for a while. Now, it's very possible with some of the things I discussed concerning Zion Oil and Kim Clement about how things could change drastically with Saudi Arabia, Iran, and Israel, and that whole situation. Things can change very quickly. So now we're going to get into, how we're going to try to flip it. So depending on, one of the things you have to understand is, what can you afford to lose? If you have 500 stocks, right? You see it go up to 477, you might be afraid to sell it because you think it might skyrocket to 20 or 30, which is always possible. I'm not sure if we're there yet, but from what I'm looking at things, the news at least that could run over the next 10 days is anywhere between 3 and 5. So let's just say, for instance, if I do set my stocks to sell, all of my stocks to sell at that amount, right? And of course, the hope is that it will hit that mark and then eventually it'll come back down and you'll be able to even buy more stocks along with being able to take some profit out. See, now if I sold every single stock that I had if Zion Oil hits that 477 mark, yeah, I'll be set for a little while, right? But it's not the kind of money that I'm really, really, really looking for. So, like I said, I don't think we're going to see that yet. I don't see, and I haven't found, maybe if you guys have looked at the past Zion Oil SEC reports, and so I'm asking you guys if any of you have seen anything concerning an extraction plan, how to, when they get it out the ground, how they're going to ship it, are they going to send it directly to an oil refinery, or are there going to be pipelines that go directly into other countries? So if you guys find that information, please let me know. I did a brief search and didn't find anything in the last 10Q report, so maybe it's in there, and that will help us in our strategy for the long term. But so if I set them all at, say, $4.77, I sell all of them, and then it goes back down, right? Say it goes back down to $3. You see it going down, and then you see it go to $2, right? And they've already hit their compliance, and you see the stock is going down. You're going to have to decide whether or not if you want to get what is going to be its bottom again before any piece of other news is released that's going to make that thing go up. In the next 10 trading days, we shouldn't see anything about striking oil unless they already had the rig there, it's already been built, and they've already been working on it. I have thought in other videos I've discussed that to keep their enemies from knowing what's going on, and they don't want to know all their prime locations and everything that they're doing, where everything is stored, they could have already built it and they have already drilled. So depending on how the news comes, we're going to be looking for operational updates, and we're going to be looking at the next update, anything that has to do with drilling. Right, it's going to be very important. So the stock goes from 477, you sell off, and the say maybe starts to go down, and it goes down to about $2. Maybe it settles down about $2, right? Now, depending on when you got in, if you got in at 49 cents or 30 cents or whatever, 38 cents, you've made a really, really good profit. Now, if you're in it for the long term, you're going to invest back in. And that's going to be the tricky part, because could it go back down to $1.50? If you have 5,000 shares, you sell them all off at $4.77, right? You've made a really, really, really good profit. And then you want to turn around, well, I had 5,000 shares. Now I can afford to buy 10,000 shares and take the rest and put it into my bank account, right? So that's what I am trying to do. Because when that stock does eventually hit the $100 mark, when everything is going, well, those stocks that you currently have, if you have at least 10,000, if you flipped it enough to where you bought 10,000 shares, and you have 10,000 shares, well, when it does hit that 100, you will have over $1 million from all those shares. So the first piece of news that comes out within the next 24 to 36 hours is going to be very important in how I look at how far do I think this thing is going to go. And even with with all the news that I think that's going to come out within the next 10 days, over the time period of their compliance, that it could very well reach 5, and I don't think any of that news contains anything about striking oil. So that's just my take on it, and but we'll see from their first releases, because one of the things that we're going to looking for when we're looking for the long term for the $100 mark is we're going to be looking for operational updates on how they're going to extract everything. Are they going to build a pipeline? Those are the kind of news, the operational updates that we're going to need down the road to see about when this could actually take place. And I think by the time this actually happens, I mean, I think the dinar, if to get everything set up after they've struck oil, if it takes at least 6 months, I mean, I can't see the dinar going 6 months from now, from where we're at now, especially with the elections coming up, and we may run into when things seem at their worst. And see, and also too, you got to look at during that time period, before the dinar revalues, where is oil and gas going to be at during that time? Because normally during hard economic times, oil and gas usually go way up, right? But I think we saw here during the economic crisis, we saw an oil collapse, right? So could we see that again and it drive all the oil prices down for a short period of time, right? And then will that be an opportunity to get back in? So this is where we're at. All right. So you want to know if, like I said, if you only, depending on how many shares you have, and if you're just in it for the long run and you don't plan on selling and you're just going to hold on to it, then you probably don't even need to even really listen to this video. But if you really want to take I've had one person share with me that they had 500 shares, right? Which is a decent amount, especially if it goes up to $100 per share. But that wait could take longer. Instead, you should be learning how to trade. So when we hit that top, you can sell. And then when it does go back down, you can buy back in. And then you can take your 500 and maybe purchase another 3 or 4,000, depending on where you sell it at and how low it goes. And also take some profit with you too as well. So you can do that with stocks. And that's something that that I'm still learning and wish I had been doing more with Zion Oil in the past. I'm working with Zion Oil so that I can flip the shares, take a profit, and buy more into the company. There's a lot of people, I've seen a lot of comments over the last week, and there's a lot of people that are only in it for the short term, right? So you're going to have a lot of those people when it reaches that high, when it reaches that high, they're going to start selling, and they're not even going to, some of them aren't even going to think about Zion Oil again. There's been a lot of impatience with the Zion Oil community well before I got into Zion Oil. And so I guess my patience, I'm a lot more patient than a lot of other people. I mean, I'm more patient because I haven't been in it as long as a lot of other people have, just like the dinar. So let me just go over it again, kind of everything in a nutshell. There's no news at all, no news or no updates. I do expect some kind of news released within the next 36 hours. And I believe that it's going to hit anywhere from, after it's all said and done, the most important news, which I'm looking for, this is the 3D Seismic survey. We're going to be looking for a $3 to $5 run. And we had Currency 365 says that he had a dream that went up to 477, that skyrocketed to 477. So I'm going to be looking at that and see if that's where if I want to really put that, that's at my sell point. Now, because you have to remember, because if you sell it at $5, right? Yeah, the stock could go up to $5. Doesn't mean that anybody's going to buy it. So maybe that's the sell point. I don't know. We're going to be watching this very closely. You got to be careful with this. So if you're going to trade these stocks, you're going to sell high and then buy low. All right. And one of the biggest things is when you start to see it skyrocket, do not buy in at $1.50, at $2, at $3. Do not do that at all. Right? For those of you who are already holding, right? And I'm only saying that because I don't want you getting left holding the bag. Right now, I don't think it's going to be that bad, but I have seen stocks where I've seen stocks rise. People in the chat rooms, and it went from 50 cents to $2, and people are just rushing to buy it at $2 because they think it's going to continue to skyrocket, and then it drops right back down. There's a lot of people out there that are trying to get you to get in when it goes so they can get out, right, and take a profit. So when you see it skyrocket, don't buy in anymore at that point. Let's wait for its high, let's sell, and then buy back in after it goes back down. So again, you have to decide whether or not if you're in this for the long term or the short term, and that you need to learn how to trade. And especially if you're going to be trading this, you definitely need to be able to place orders in at 3 a.m. in the morning, right? So we need to graduate from Robinhood and start moving. If you guys start taking a profit, you can transfer some of your funds to another account. After you've taken your profit, you can transfer that money to another trading platform and then buy Zion oil from that platform. So guys, I'm really excited about this. I hope you guys understand. This is just the information, talking with different people like Currency 365 and a few other people, and all in some of the pointers they gave me. And no matter what decision you make, you have to be comfortable with the decision you make, right? Because it is all a risk, but also feel comfortable. Some of you will sell everything that you have, even after hearing that I think it might go to $5. There's some of you who will sell everything at $3. Some people trade out of fear. Some people trade because they just want to, they're done with it. They want to take their profit and they want to go. Okay, guys, so if you guys do find anything about their extraction plan, how they're going to move the oil from one place to a refinery or into another country, please post that information. If you find it anywhere in Zion Oil's reports, and we'll be looking for whatever SEC report. Now, just so last time they put out a news release, and the SEC was uploaded on that Sunday evening. When it did go from on the permit news, when it went from 19 cents to 88 cents, and I think even on some platforms it went up to 95 cents. So that's what we're going to see here, but on a bigger scale. I think we're going to see it go from 5 and then maybe down to 3 or 2, maybe even 150. I don't know how it's going to work out, but that's what we're looking at. But that's what is that we're going to be looking for: the high, selling at the high, buying in at the low. Okay, folks. So I'll be up about 2:30 in the morning, so I'll be watching this. I'll be making an update if there's any news from now until 2:30 in the morning. I'll post those on the Patreon, and I will also post it in the Telegram group for Zion Oil that I have that I posted on the Patreon, and we'll be giving updates if anything changes, news changes, price changes at that early in the morning. So if you do have that group, just be mindful. You might hear your phone start going off at 3 or 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. All right, folks, thanks for listening. With that being said, Twisted Christian out.